Yes. We are.
Hello, everybody. This is our number 5, right, of our podcasts, and we are just really fortunate tonight because we're talking to the world, and we have talking with us Tricia Bethel-Sookhoo, who is a local scout leader, very active, and we're going to talk to her a lot about it. And she has just gotten back from a trip to Philmont Scout Reservation. And we're going to talk about that. And we're so glad that you joined us. And Tricia, why don't you tell us first just a little bit about your background? Now, remember, we may have people, I hope, people from all over the world will be looking at this sooner or later, maybe sooner. And so I'd like for you just to say a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in scouting and how long you've been active in scouting.
I have, Walker, I've actually been involved in scouting since birth. My parents were both very active scouters. My mother was actually the first female to complete Wood Badge in our district. So I remember as a very young Tricia going to Girl Scout events as a toddler, being at headquarters because my mom ran the weekend programs in scouting. My dad was an assistant scoutmaster and quartermaster. Both parents, as I mentioned, were a part of Wood Badge. My brother was involved in scouting as a kid, and our Girl Scout troop growing up was very involved in the Boy Scout troop. We did a lot of annual activities together.
It's unusual in this country back then.
It is. And then when of course, I was involved in Girl Scouts with my daughter, and then Cub Scouts with my son. And then I was approached in 2018 to start the first all-female Boy Scout troop here in Newnan. Yes, I still call it that, the Boy Scout troop in Newnan.
Yes, that's fine. By the way, tell people who don't know. Some people on this might not know what Wood Badge is. So you got one sentence of what Wood Badge is?
Wood Badge is the premier leadership program for adults in scouting. It allows adults to learn more about leadership and the program of Scouting America. I think it's absolutely outstanding. There's a lot of corporations out there that'll send and even allow their employees to go to the program to learn so much more. And I've had the advantage of actually not only going through the program, but also being on staff for several years.
I believe Wood Badge, the first Wood Badge courses were at Gilwell Park in England.
They certainly were.
Yes. Okay. Well, all right, continue on then. I'm not sorry.
Being involved with my daughter, my son, starting the first all-female Boy Scout troop here in my county, been involved in Wood Badge in leadership and training and all that, everything you can imagine somebody being involved in our community when it comes to scouting. And I've done that, but I get the greatest joy in seeing the development of these young people. There's some really incredible young people that I've come in contact with over the years and continue to watch them grow.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me, you have just gotten back from Philmont Scout Reservation, and maybe some of the people here, what I try to tell parents, you've probably heard me say this, but when you are in Scouting America, you suddenly own all these places. You own these high adventure, you own your local camp, you own your Philmont. And how many acres is Philmont? I saw it the other day. And
I believe it's 193,000 acres.
Yes.
All of the property.
Yes, it's huge. And it was given, I believe, in about the 1930s or 20s by the Phillips oil people. Wasn't
that is correct. Yeah, the Waite family.
Yes, and so it's where is it located?
It's located in Cimarron, New Mexico. So a lot of people think New Mexico, it's going to be desert and dry. It is at a lower level, but you're also at the border of Colorado. So once you get into the mountains, and you're up over 7,000 feet, you get to see the aspen trees, and it's lush and green. And July happens to be monsoon season, so we got a lot of rain during our trek. 10 days 10 days, 70 plus miles that our crew went on. We did have 7 girls and 3 boys. We went in as a venture crew. That's the green uniform. So and 4 adults. So we were actually a total of a crew of 14, which is unusual. But we did have a fantastic time learning a lot. That Philmont Scout Ranch is absolutely amazing to see that 18 to 25,000 people go through that ranch every year, and it can be as pristine as it is absolutely incredible. And then the challenging aspects of it, which I'm pretty sure you probably want to bring up.
I want to bring up everything we could without going on for 5 hours. For one thing, you mentioned, just last week in episode 4, we talked about wilderness first aid. And then I remember a friend of mine's son went on, maybe it was at Philmont, but when he got out there, they had one of those lightning storms that you get out west. And so they knew what to do, and they sheltered the right way. They were out on a mountain.
That's exactly what happened to us. The one last mountain ascent that we had, and ridge that we had to go over, and sure enough, lightning was within feet of us. It felt like I felt the energy in the sky, and we had to get crouched down and watch it pass. So luckily, the rain didn't come in at that time. It was just surrounding us. But yeah, exactly that. We had the fortunate. We went to the exact same wilderness first aid training that you probably talked to David McLaughlin last week.
Yes.
I had I've been to it a couple of times, but I also encouraged our scouts to go to it. Philmont only requires 3. We had 7 on our trek that actually had been through the training. So I knew we were in good hands should anything happen. Luckily, nothing happened to us. There were a couple little slips and falls, but nothing major. And that's what you hope for. I told people, and they surprised me now that I've been back to work and around people, that my job in the last 2 weeks was literally to keep 13 other people alive. I tell people, though, that Philmont Scout Ranch is much like Disney World in a sense that you think of Disney, and a lot of people only just go for the rides. They see the rides, they go on the rides. But when you think about all of the inner components that take place behind the scenes in Disney, it's the food production and the cinematography and the animatronics and all the little things that are going on behind the scenes. Philmont Scout Ranch actually is a very safe place for scouts to experience adventure. The only other place that they're going to see anything like that is in the military, where they drop you off and you've got to do survival. However, there's a lot of safe points in the Philmont Scout Ranch and the way that goes through. One of the things that our crew wanted to make sure that they had during their trek wasn't just a whole bunch of walking and hiking. You think, oh my gosh, they're doing 80 miles a day, and no, we didn't want to do that. We wanted to have an adventure where they got a break and they got to do program. Our very first staffed camp that we went to, we got to have ice cold root beer. Can you believe that? Out on a homesteading farm, ice cold root beer and spar poling. Now they got to climb up a pole with the little spikes on their heels.
Oh, yes.
How else do you get to do that you can just go do that? And we saw one of our scouts who was afraid of heights that got halfway up the pole that would never have done that before ever in her entire life. So you see the growth and the leadership. They lead themselves. They look at a map, they figure out where our next destination is, they figure out what the trail is that we're going to go on, and they switch the jobs every day. Somebody we called it the navigator. The navigator for the day, the navigator. Somebody set the pace. There was always one leader and leadership in the program. So as I said, we got to go spar poling, we got to rock climbing. Unfortunately, the weather didn't participate or help or work out for us. We had one of those hailstorms right in the middle of it all for us to be able to go horseback riding. But we got to experience what life was like in the 1800s back at the ranch.
I always think that I always think that every teenager ought to be able to have that kind of an experience where you're out there for more than 3 days, more than 4 days. One time I'd never been to Philmont myself, but I once hiked across Lapland for about 7 days with a couple of friends, and I think that everybody needs that kind of an adventure. Tell me about some more of these. Also, this is giving me a thrill because my son was chosen to be the crew chief or crew leader or whatever when his group went to Philmont in about 1996 or whatever year that was. But so the I don't think a lot of people understand the nature of having the children, or let's call them children, the youth, actually lead and do stuff. They're not being taken on a little camp out like a car camp out by a lake or something. Talk, yeah.
No, that they, like I said, they literally they elected a crew leader, somebody also to be their chaplain, and also a wilderness guia, somebody that was in charge of making sure that we were taking care of the land and that promise that we made to that land, that that family wanted us to make sure that we continued so it would be pristine for years to come. But that youth had to make sure that everybody was doing their job, getting up in the morning, getting on the trail, checking in to make sure everybody was healthy and good and okay. Because when you're out there in the backcountry, you've experienced it being out and
Yeah.
on an adventure for 7 days. When you're out in the backcountry, there's no flush and toilet. There's no electricity. There's nothing that you're used to, no phone, nobody to call, no emergency. So because of all of those things that are not normal for everybody, they have to pull together, and we need to know what's going on. They learn to poop in the woods. Wouldn't you know it?
Like a bear.
Teenage girls and boys out there learning how to, fend for themselves and figure those things out, without a phone, without, they have each other. And that to me, one of the biggest things ever is every day was hard. Every day was hard. And if they learned anything, they learned that they can do hard things. And they can do it together. That was the best part, was to see how well, because we had a group of young men that I've known through Order of the Arrow and through summer camp that came with us. Girls from my troop. We had girls from a troop in Georgia because we had a youth and her mother that had signed up for the trek and then moved back to out of state. So they came with us and gathered. So you're talking age ranges from 13 to 20, all working together for that daily task of getting from one place to the other, making sure everybody was, taken care of and fed and watered and put to bed and all the things on their own in a safe environment. And that's what's so incredible. But we took it one day at a time. One day at a time. Where are we going next, and what kind of fun thing do we get to do today? Where do we get to go next, and what do we get to do tomorrow? Let's stop.
Pardon my interruption, but is the Philmont adventure open to non-scout groups? I don't know. In other words,
I don't think so. You have to be a registered scouter in order to attend.
I would think so.
There are trainings, so if you don't want to go on a trek, there's training opportunities and family opportunities to be able to go. So if there's a family with small children, they have programs of that nature. Yes. I highly encourage anyone from even out of the country, out of the state, and anywhere that you can get to experience it. And there's 7, 9, and 12-day treks. So our 12-day is a 10-day backpacking trip, but you get pre and post dates. So a 7-day is only 5 days on the trail. You're not going to hike 70 miles like we did in 5 days. Yeah. So you're going to get that taste of it. So if you got a younger crew of scouts, by God, get out there and do it. I'm still coming down. My friends are calling it the mountain high. I'm calling it, being able to assimilate into society, because when survival and just being a part of the beauty, your brain, I don't want to say your brain kind of slows down and you kind of just go with the flow of the day. And I miss it. There's something that you say when you leave Philmont, I want to go back to Philmont. And I look forward to those opportunities of creating those memories for some young kids in the future, because I see the importance of it.
Did you see people from other countries there?
No, most of them that we saw were from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Massachusetts, Boston, Washington, D.C., California,
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, Texas.
How big? How big is their professional staff there? During the summer.
They have to have over 1,000 people, 1,200 people, I'm sure,
Yeah.
more than that, because they have to staff all of those staff camps back in the backcountry. What college student wants to literally go live off of the land all summer long, be in a homestead? But they do. They do. They want to. They want to be a part of that and create those memories and sit there and do nothing. It's been a lot of fun to actually talk with each of those staff members and what they're doing and how they're history majors in college. They're, where they're studying the times that they're living in the
Yes.
backcountry, in a dirt floor cabin. They don't even have the amenities. You would think that, even those that are working there would have, a phone. No, they don't have phone service. They don't have the amenities that you would think they would have behind the scenes. So it's really good to talk with them about that too.
Did you bring any photographs Elliott? Can we share some of the photographs and so people don't have, and we don't have to be looking at Walker all the time.
So that's the crew. That's the crew of 14 before we got started.
Uh-huh.
And our ranger. The ranger was actually from the Air Force Academy. So she
You're
came
kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a program where those that are at the Air Force Academy come out and help. They interview for it. That's the pack. Go ahead. That's the pack lines heading out.
Did your group do preliminary hikes here in Georgia to sort of toughen up before you went?
We certainly did. We went on about 6 different small hikes. One of the most profound was we went to the Appalachian Trail in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And it rained all day, all night, all day long. We went uphill in the rain, and I said, well, this is what Philmont's going to be like, so get used to it. And sure enough, we had a monsoon one day that the water was up to our ankles on the trail, and it felt like one of those Vietnam movies.
Yeah.
It didn't stay rain sideways. It rained up, it rained down, it rained all around. So I was glad that we actually had those conditions during we call them shakedowns, during our shakedown, because then when it came time for the actual trek, they weren't fazed by it at all.
Well, one thing that I've had a constant theme, whether it's Walker Chandler talking to scouts or whether it's when I do Baden-Powell, is that people don't learn from car camping, pulling up to the road and then having the parents cook the meals on the side of the lake, and then kids need to experience harsh conditions. Mm-hmm. I have one friend whose son is a scout leader in Sweden, and when he was in the Army, they had to go out on military patrols north of the Arctic Circle in the winter. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you talk about tough, and I think people need to get into that, and they need it as an experience so they can at least appreciate those who serve in the military, and then they get hardened themselves. So in case they themselves want to serve, and a great many of the people that are in the military academies are scouts. There's no question about that.
Most definitely.
Right? You want to see some more pictures, Elliott?
Share some more pictures. See if we can get them back up. Awesome. So, map. Yeah, they've got a map. They got to figure out where they're going. So they talk about it. They said, this is where we're headed. This is what I think the route we should take. And they get their compass and their map out, and we figure out which way to go. This is one of the first homesteading one of the first homesteading stops for us, and that's one of the girls in the troop. She takes care of chickens at home. You see, she's like right at home there. One of the chickens, you could pick them up, and I actually put that one on my head.
Well, it's interesting to see that greenery there.
Yeah.
When you think of Philmont, I think of it as dry and harsh.
Yeah, that's why I try to explain to people when you're down below at base camp, yeah, it's desert and dry and dirt. But once you get up above 7,000 feet, this is probably close. That was probably close to 7,000 feet above sea level. And you get a lot more lush. You definitely know when you're above 8 and on the wet side of the mountain, because it literally is wet. You see more ferns and more lush landscaping throughout Philmont, depending on where you are coming out of a canyon and up and through. So there, yeah, I forget what the donkey's name is, but there were 2 donkeys there.
Did y'all use it? Did you ever see any of the troops using burros to pack with?
I was strongly discouraged because those donkeys have a mind of their own, and they don't go. They go the rate that they want to go and when they want to go. Yeah, they become pack mules for you, but they're not always the best thing to have to contend with. So we chose not to have a burro.
Sounds fine. I remember when I was a child and got Boy's Life, there was one that was Pedro.
Actually, I think his name was Pedro.
Yeah, they. That was always a fun part of the Boy's Life, where Pedro would have these kind of a strange attitude, and clever.
They named him Pedro, I think, for that very reason.
All right, another picture, Elliott. Another picture, please. Oh,
that's Crater Lake. That was our first campfire program coming into Crater Lake. It's in the campfire theater or arena or whatever you want to call it. Literally sits over this lake, and you get to see the sunset behind it. It's pretty amazing. Blue skies.
That brings up something. Did y'all have an ability to bathe, or did y'all go that whole time without bathing?
Yeah, there was showers at one of the staffed camps, but you have 30 minutes for your entire crew to take a shower.
Sounds like the Army.
So we had 10 minutes each to take a shower.
Was it cold?
Actually, it was warm. It's solar heated.
Yeah.
So it was a good sunny day that day. So we got nice hot water.
We're gonna mention some of the other facilities that the Scouting America has. And when I was at the Bechtel Reserve in West Virginia, I thought they were marvelous. They had solar heated showers, men on one side somehow and women on the other, and they had a gray water system, and then they had a potable water, i.e. drinkable water faucet on the outside where people couldn't get confused or whatever. It worked. It's a beautiful setup, and I'm so impressed about how the Americans seem to handle logistics. And like at Bechtel, when the World Jamboree was there, they had all the equipment just laid out in these tent cities, so there was no disorganization. It was great. And I assume Philmont is run on a very efficient basis that way.
Most definitely. We were lucky enough. We only had to pull water from the stream, I think, twice during our whole trek.
Yeah.
And then one time it was a former staffed camp, but now it's not. So, of course, you've got to purify your water. And they offer you the tablets. We brought also a purification bladder system where it pulls from one bag and goes through a filter and then into the other bag, because we just didn't want to take the chances of floaties in our water.
Well, when I was a child, I used to, that was back in the 50s and 60s, we'd drink out of streams, just drink straight out of them. But then you can get stomach cramps and giardia and things like that. It's not worth it.
We have to take into consideration Philmont Scout Ranch is a working cattle ranch. So you've got cattle going pee and poop upstream, you don't see it in the water, but it's there. So that's why we have to purify everything that is not deemed potable.
Are there any buffalo on at Philmont?
There are, but we didn't see any.
Okay. How about bears?
There are bears too. We didn't see any, but we did see a print of one in a campsite that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
The all evasive mini bears. Have you heard of those?
A what?
A mini bear.
No, but tell us all about a mini bear.
It's a chipmunk.
Oh,
just as bad as the big bears in trying to steal your food or get into anything. So we have strict bear procedures when you go into a campsite.
Yes.
All your food and smellables, including contact lens solution and chapstick, all have to be put up in a bear bag up in the air.
That's true in the Smoky Mountains too.
Exactly.
And those animals, they know where to go for free food and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I had one, not from this trek, but from a prior trek. An animal came in and chewed the end off of a water bladder mouthpiece.
Yes.
And chewed into it. So we were very, very fortunate. We didn't have any issues other than when somebody left a bag of chips laying out for them to come and grab it and take it. But other than that, we didn't have any of those kind of issues. We think we might have seen either a bobcat or a mountain lion early on in the trip. We heard something growling in the bushes, and our ranger kind of saw something in the bushes, but we didn't go observe it. We just kind of left it alone, but something wasn't real happy to see us. I think we saw wild turkey as well. Of course, a lot of birds. I think at one point I was going over in 2018, there was a very large fire in the North Country. And we had a chance to actually walk through that this year to do a food pickup. And imagine all these burnt sticks, matchsticks, just sitting up out of the ground. But the landscape was absolutely just lush. It was amazing what kind of flora and fauna come out of rebirth from when trees aren't there anymore, with the groundscape not being able, kind of get snuffed out, kind of thing.
Well, for one thing, is we've had that on the Pine Mountain Trail down at Warm Springs, where there was a fire that went through and tornadoes, and suddenly all these plants that have been starved for sunlight have plenty of sunlight. That was
exactly what happened. But during that time, we had a crow that followed us, and it was so eerie. It felt like one of those horror movies. You hear the crows talking to each other as you're walking down the path. But it was pretty crazy. The fascinating thing for me was that I had a chance. You don't get to choose. You get to choose your treks and itineraries that you want. You have up to 4 or 5 choices, and then Philmont selects which one you go on. Well, by chance, I call it Philmont magic. We ended up going on the exact same itinerary that I went on 3 years ago. So the things that I talked about for years to my scouts and talked about all of the things that I did and places that I went and things that I saw and things that, were important and fun for me, they got to see too. So that was really neat that happened. And so I kind of had some insight because I knew what to change on our itinerary to make it better. I kind of knew what routes to take because I had taken them before. So our scouts kind of had a little bit of an advantage than others have.
One thing that I think a lot of people don't think about, but I have thought about a lot, is the stars at night. Did y'all have you said there was a lot of rain, so I assume there were a lot of clouds, but did you ever have those magnificent things that you get out in the American West of the stars?
Unfortunately, both between the treescapes, the tree line being in that, and because of the cloud cover, we didn't get to see much of it. We saw most of that at base camp on the start of our trip.
Yeah.
And then at the end, because you saw some of those pictures of that big blue sky. I mean, I've learned that being in Georgia with the humidity, it really puts a haze on our skyline. So you look up and it's not big blue with white puffy clouds. You know the humidity is down when that starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really neat just to see that big blue sky and the green meadows and the wind whipping the meadows with the tall grass and the aspen leaves waving at you. It's just breathtaking. Unfortunately, a lot of the times our teenage kids, when they're going on this trek, all they look at is the heels of the person in front of them. So I did have some scouts that said, stop, let's look and see what this looks like. Just stop and watch, stop and pay attention to what we're seeing here. And that was really neat that we had a few that wanted to experience it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Have you ever been to the Northern Tier?
I have not. The goal is for our to take a group in 2 years to Northern Tier.
Elliott, why don't you tell everybody what the Northern Tier is? You can look it up on the internet, everybody, and you'll see. But it's Elliott. What state is that in? Is that in Wisconsin? And then it's at the Canadian border, I believe.
It's in Minnesota.
Minnesota. Oh, okay. And we're not seeing your handsome face here.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
Oh, you went to it, didn't you? You were telling us before we began about how old you were when you went there.
I was 14 or 15, and I attended for the National Advanced Youth Leadership Experience in preparation to be the senior patrol leader for that upcoming National Youth Leadership Training course. And I had a lot of fun. I went with 2 other scouts from the council that were to be assistant senior patrol leader for program and for service for that same upcoming course. And we had a blast. Turned the word portaging into a bit of a curse word for me. I remember that. If you've ever been or ever will go, you'll know what I mean. Portaging means putting that canoe over top of your head and resting it partially on your shoulders, partially on your arms and hands, and partially on just the weight of your soul a little bit. So we had a really good time. And because the thing that I remember the most, when we talk about the things that you have to learn how to do and struggle with, and I didn't go for 10 days. This is only a 3 or 4, maybe 4-night excursion, I believe this was. I can't remember right off the top of my head. It's been a while now. But had a grand time. It was awesome. There was the land of 1,000 lakes is what it's called up there. And it was very wet. The mosquitoes were intense, but the experience was incredible. So,
what about is there a mosquito problem at Philmont or a bug problem at Philmont?
Yeah, because of the wet weather, it was a lot more than I remember it being when I was there 3 years ago. But there's always just 1 or 2 people in the crew that suffer more than everybody else, and I was that person.
When I was
love me, the bugs love me.
When I was 18, I was hiking and went hiking on about maybe it was a 6-day trip in Lapland. And you'd go down and you'd think above the Arctic Circle, you wouldn't believe how many mosquitoes there are. And then you get there and you can clap your hands and kill 5. It's amazing. But they had a really nice stick repellent. Mm-hmm. So the things might be flying all around, but they wouldn't land. Yeah. So that was great stuff. And that was a long time ago, but that was in Sweden.
So as Elliott mentioned, that Northern Tier is a canoeing. Mm-hmm. It's a canoeing adventure. Philmont's all backpacking. And then another one of the high adventure camps here in the United States is Sea Base, and it's located on in Key West, in the Keys of Florida. And our troop had a chance to go there about 4 or 5 years ago.
Did you? Oh, I envy you.
I did not, but the troop did.
Well, and I believe they go out. They have like a 2-masted ship and other sailing adventures.
Yeah, there's different programs. Either you can go out on the actual ship and spend days out at sea on a sailboat and learn how to maneuver a sailboat and eat out of the ocean, or they can do kind of a land program involving any oceanic kind of things, if it's snorkeling and some kind of conservation project and that sort of thing. And that's what our troop did.
At the World Jamboree, they had I tell a lot of people about this. They had 5 Olympic size uh, above ground pools on concrete, and so they were only 4 or 5 feet deep, but they had scuba gear that kids could work, and I mean, it was just great, and the opportunities available in scouting all around the world are just astonishing.
In a
And
safe place. They can learn and grow and try things. Where else in society can you learn something about, being a park ranger, or, doing the backpacking thing, or the scuba diving thing, like you said, or anything for any kind of job position or lifestyle, basically, when it comes to adventure, that you can do in a safe environment. That's you can't imagine any other way of doing it.
well, I often think about, and I tell scouts this, especially the little ones, and I say, you have brothers and sisters all over the world, and they say that they remember a scout is he's a friend to all and a brother to every other scout. And I went to the World Jamboree in 1963, and it was in Greece. And so it was this wonderful experience of traveling around some in Europe and then staying at the Jamboree site in Greece. And then one of the guys I met there is still my brother, this Swedish man, and his granddaughter came to the World Jamboree, and all scouts can tell you about all these friendships they make, and whether it be scouts from the States or foreign or whatever, but it's hard to express how beneficial scouting is. And that's one reason we're making these podcasts, is we're hoping that people, like parents who are kind of, well, I don't know if I want to get involved. I mean, that's, to me, that it's like, I almost feel that parents are not doing right by their children if they don't have them in scouting.
And you look at too, I went 3 years ago without my scouts. I went with another group of scouts in our venturing crew. But I knew if I could do it, anybody can do it. And I had some leaders that you may have thought, looking at them, how are you going to survive outdoors? But they did. They did, because we had the right group of people in the right place at the right time. And even I encourage adults, even if you don't have, your kids may be older, get involved, do something, because you can grow yourself. I mean, I could never have ever imagined doing what I've done twice, let alone once. And I've run a marathon. So I encourage everybody, what you can see, that, like you said, the camaraderie. Some people have gone to summer camp. This is summer camp on steroids when you go to any of these high adventures, and you're connected with those people that you go on that trip with for the rest of your life. I reached out to the crew that I went with last time and said, hey, I'm headed out again. We happen to have the same itinerary. Can you remember, things that I need to remember to encourage my youth about, or whatever? And like, yeah, remember when you fell. We remember when we did this. We remember when, and it was 3 years ago. So it's pretty amazing, and how you do have that sense of camaraderie-ness and all of that. And I want to let you know too, Walker, my girl troop in Scouts are a brotherhood. I have taught them that there is something beyond with that word. It's not sisterhood. It's a brotherhood. There's something about the difference between saying sisterhood and brotherhood that's deep rooted in scouting. And I am super, super proud of them and of what has become of our unit and our troop. And we've got somebody that's going off to do college level shooting. I know of scouts that are going into welding and apprenticeships and all of these things because of what they've been doing with scouts. And we teach them that you can do hard things and you can learn and you can overcome anything that you desire, because of what we have put in front of you. And, you know, teaching them to do something that's outside of their realm, and giving them the support that they know that they can do it is something that I take pride in. I'm one of those leaders that, all right, go ahead, figure it out. You may need to fail because, you know, the lessons we learn the hardest, we learn the most. And in scouting, we get to do that.
Well, I've often thought that people who are depressed or even mentally ill have the common thread is that they have a morbid obsession with themselves. And Baden-Powell and so many other people throughout history have said that the to have a good life, you have to help other people. Mm-hmm. And so number one, you got to be able to help other people, and your willingness to do things like to become an adult leader, even though you don't have children in the troop or whatever. You know, people don't understand the benefit they might get out of it. To have a second family in a sense, or to experience things like Philmont, which they wouldn't even imagine. Just like you were saying, you couldn't even imagine having done these sort of things, and now you have, and there are more in the future, God willing, mm-hmm. and that even if there isn't a future, you know, Baden-Powell talked about dying happy. And, you know, and he says, if you've done your best, that's one thing I love about the Cub Scout motto is do your best. And you know, and I kind of think that's something that we need to emphasize when you say you're going to put on a skit around a campfire. Well, behind that ought to be that little do your best, you know, and is this the best you can do? No, it isn't. And so if the patrol leaders, the 10-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, scouting is just an amazing thing when done right. And to me, when done right means letting the children do it and don't have the adults it's not a daycare center. You know, it's just not. It's a scouting movement.
Exactly.
So, hey, what else can we talk about? Do we have any more pictures that we haven't looked at?
Please share more pictures, Elliott.
Yes, Elliott. We like, you know, they're worth 1,000 words.
I get to relive my life for the last 2 weeks. You're getting me right off, like I said, right off that mountain high, and that.
I know, it's great. It's a great time.
Wanting to belong back into out in the woods. So
yeah, out in the woods.
About that.
Yeah, I went on the river just today.
So this is rock climbing. Yeah. This is rock climbing on a real rock.
It looks like a rock, yeah.
Yeah, and that scout down there at the bottom, I told you she was the one that did that spar pole and barely got just above my head on the spar pole. She got all the way to the top. Mm-hmm. She got all the way to the top. This girl that has a fear of heights got all the way to the top. She was crying and cursing me and all the things you can imagine, but she got it. She did it. She got there.
Mm. You know, Hemingway once said that fear is the inability to suspend the imagination. Mm-hmm. You know, you think what's going to happen if you fall and all that, and you imagine that falling. But it's, of course, the scout law that I memorized when I was a kid was a scout has the courage to face danger in spite of fear. And to stand up for the right against the coaxings of friends or the jeers or threats of enemies. I mean, that's the kind of thing that that feeds into everything about the scouting movement is all those aspects of the scout law that are repeated and repeated and repeated, and they become a part of who the child is, who the youth is, who the adult is. So what next picture there, Elliott? I didn't mean to get us too much off.
That was just us sitting around camp, resting.
Resting is good.
Yeah, never thought that I would ever have to tell scouts to go to bed, but when you're out there hiking, I don't know,
That's a good point.
10 miles a day, 6 to 10 miles a day, then guess what? They do want to go to bed because they're exhausted. I love this picture. I don't remember where it's taken. I'd have to take a look at it, but it shows all the layers of the sky, the setting sun, everybody, moving forward on the trail. We're talking, we're enjoying the moment. But this was in no way, this photo has not been altered. You know how sometimes you can put in shading, and this is the true form of this photo.
How heavy were your packs?
They tell us that they should only be no more than a third of your weight. But when you're packing out water, 3 liters of water is about 10 pounds. So in any day, you need to have 3 to 5 liters of water. So my scouts packs were probably no more than about 30 to 40 pounds. Mine was closer to 50. And our crew leader, he's getting ready to go into the Army, so he could handle a lot more. So at one point he picked up his pack and mine and said, "Your pack actually is heavier than mine for once." Here I was, an 18-year-old boy and myself, our packs are about the same weight. Needless to say, he was at the front of the pack and I was at the back of the pack. But yeah, your life is in there. You share a tent with the buddies so that you can share the weight on that. You've got your food, and Philmont provides you with your food, which are in little bags per meal, along with electrolytes. And you got to get your water and pack your water out, and your tent, your sleeping bag, your clothes. You lived off of 2 sets of clothes the whole time. What? Yes. 2 sets of clothes, one you got on, and
2 clothes. I mean, how luxury.
Dry pajamas. I always got into camp and put my pajamas on so that I was dry when I dry clothes. Because when you're out there walking all day, you get sweaty, right? And you get cold. Yep. So you've got to put on some dry clothes when you first get to camp and settle in and eat dinner and go to bed. I mean, the sun was still out some nights and everybody was exhausted, so exhausted that they went to bed. But those were nights that we didn't have program or anything to do at the camp.
Did you cook in pairs or as a unit?
We cooked as a unit because many of them are freeze dried. I couldn't imagine what the guys did back in the 50s and the 60s before all this. I guess they still kind of had Army MRE kind of food. I asked a gentleman what he had back then. I said, "Did you carry a lot of cans and stuff?" He goes, "No, we had Army like MRE stuff." I said, "Oh, well, that's good to know."
Like K rations back then.
Yeah. So, nowadays, chicken is in a pouch. And
what about the fire? Did y'all use gas stoves, little gas cooker things?
White gas Whisper Light stoves.
What stove then with white gas?
White gas.
Yeah.
And then we'd cook boil up some water, sanitize everybody's dishes, and then use water, then throw everything into a pot and cook it, and then dish it out.
And it probably tasted great because you were hungry.
Awesome. Yes.
It's amazing what they say. That's the greatest flavoring for food is hunger.
Yes. Is the last one yeah, and there's the whole crew. We made it at the end.
Oh, that's great. That is just great.
Yep.
Well, what else would you like to just wind up with, just telling our friends all around the world about scouting and the great outdoor adventures that they have? I've mentioned a couple I've done, and I keep thinking about how Baden Powell's brother, when he was a kid, they took a folding kayak boat or something all the way across England. They went up the Thames, and then they had the portage or that thing, and then they went down through Wales. But they were gone for weeks, and they had some kind of a 36-foot or 40-foot sailboat that they sailed all around. High adventure, danger, but kids want a certain sense of danger. I think even girls do, don't they?
They certainly do. The level of leadership and personal development that you get from doing hard things. I keep saying that over and over and over again. But being out there in nature and having to survive is something that you can't, amount to in life because of what our lives have become. Super easy for us, right? You go to an air conditioned home, to an air conditioned car, to an air conditioned job or mall or whatever. Just change the thermostat is all you got to do to be comfortable. And in order to grow, you have to become uncomfortable, right? That's the time and time again, all those self-help books will tell you that, right? And in scouting, it's a safe place to do that. Like I said, talking about Philmont being like Disney World, we had to show up at certain camps for them to realize that we were in the right place at the right time and nothing was wrong with us. You get that. It's not like, like I said, we were being dropped out in the desert and trying to figure out our way home. So the kids didn't know that. The adults did, but the kids did not. And I think just seeing the growth and the maturity and the leadership and the camaraderie that you talk about and the brotherhood that happens during adventures like this are unsurmountable. I've got adults that are thanking me for allowing them to come on this trip because it was life-changing for them too. Getting back into nature and the beauty and the simple things in life and realizing that life still goes on. But we don't need to get wrapped up in the world around us. It's okay to decompress sometimes, and so it's pretty amazing. And to have those memories with our children. Many of them had their scouts or their children were along the trip, but then others I've seen grow up because I've known them for 7 or 8 years now, and seeing them mature and grow and become part of our armed forces or pilots or whatever they become is pretty amazing to me, and be a part of that. I couldn't imagine life any different than continuing the legacy that my parents did in being a scout. And I do it for the adults, not just for the children.
Oh, yes.
That's the big thing for me. I am the Scoutmaster of our female troop, and I am stepping down as Scoutmaster because I also believe that not only do youth need to have that growth, but adults do too. So I'm allowing somebody else to take that role. And then I have a new role because I'll be an advisor for the crew. Now that we've got scouts that want to do more high adventure, I'm one of the few crazy ones that want to do high adventure with them. Let's go back out to the Appalachian Trail or go on the top of a mountain somewhere and camp, and show that we can do it. And I'm all for it. And it's so much fun. They say we want to do this, and I say, let's go.
Let's go.
And there's not many people out there that are willing to do it. And age isn't an issue. I saw 65, 67, 70-year-olds on the trail. It doesn't. And I look at it this way: these youth, isn't it true? Keep us young. Keep around the young people, and helping them grow keeps you younger. I'm a firm believer in that.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Elliott. Thank you for helping shepherd this along, and we, all people around the world, we just hope that you will just enjoy your scouting experiences, and that you will not be reluctant to step up and be an adult leader, or if you're a scout, to try to do your best. Do your best, Cub Scout, Boy Scout, adult leader. Thank you all very much. All right. Good night.
Till we meet again.